All right, welcome back. In this session, we're going to be talking about the loop. So, we essentially use loop to, execute. We can use loop to execute a code block. So long as a condition is met. So we set a condition. So if that condition is met, it continues to go around the cycle until it's no longer met. When it becomes a false, then it stops. Or if we use a keyword break, so we can use it to break out of the loop. And so we'll see that as we move along. So here we have the we're going to be working with the common loop statement that we have here. So we have the while loop. um, we have the while loop. Then we have, this is while loop, and then we have do while loop, do while, and then we have the for loop. We have another one that is a for each loop. Yeah, but the for each loop would be talked about after the array, if you talk about the array, because for each loop is exclusively for you know looping through the element that you have in an array. So but this one is in a general while loop, do while loop, and the for loop. Now, so if we, let's see how it works. So you take them one after the other. The while loop is like this. So when you have a while statement, so here you have a condition. This is the general syntax for it. You have the condition, and then you have action. So you have while, then you have the condition set, and then you have the action to be performed for that condition. This is syntax for a while loop. This is like this syntax for it. So let's see example. So let's say that we have um let's say we say int number is equals to 1, for instance. So then we, let's say we come in here and we say while number, this number that we have here, we set a condition while number is less, or is less than, or let's say is greater than, while number is yeah, so let me use less than 10. So long as the number is less than 10, continue to execute this code block. So this is the condition. So long as this number is less than 10, continue to execute this code block. So let's say what I want to do is write console dot write line. Yeah, so here I'll just have to put the number. The number will be written to the console, and then right in there will continue, will increment this number. So here I'm going to have this number plus plus right here. So this would continue to increment the number. So the first one will come as 1, the second one, by the time it gets here, it becomes 2, so subsequently becomes 3, like that. So and then at some point when it becomes 9, when it gets here, it's 10. This condition is no longer met, and then it will break. All right, so let's see how that works. So this is just a basic example. So we can see 1 to 9, 1 to 9. 10 is not there because 10 won't meet this condition, so it's not going to write. So it stays as 9. So what did we learn? We initialize the number, we put the conditions, and then we put action. So this could be a whole lot of code blocks that we are going to be executing within this while loop. All right. So we have another one. So let me say this one is the number 1, which is the while loop. Then the second one, so let's say we have the do while loop. Do do while loop. So here we're gonna have the syntax is do, then you have what you want done, so it's pretty much like the opposite of this, and then you will then put a while statement while a condition, while condition. So here you do something, you do action, you have action to be done, and then you have a condition here that needs to be met. So why that condition is the first thing is the execution of the code block first before checking for the condition. So what you see here is that here you check for the condition first before executing the code block, but here the code block get executed first before the condition is checked. So what that means is that for a do while loop you already have at least one execution, even if the condition is not met. Even if the condition is not met, this will run before it checks, but this one checks before it runs, so this is a basic difference between between the do and do while and while do. So if you have an example, so let's say we say do, so we say do, then here we are executing, this one is going to run first and then this one will run second, so we're saying still doing the same thing, pretty much the same thing. So let me say in do while, let's say I have in do while, I'm having this in do while, then and let's say we've written some sort of separator to demarcate what we have in between the two. So now we say while number is less than 20, while number is less than 20, continue to do, right? Continue to do. So while number is less than 20, continue to do, and then do this, you console log, and then you increment. You console log, then you increment. Let's say you console log, then you increment. And you continue to do that so long as the number is less than not 200. That will be too much. Yeah, so long as the number is less than 20. So let's say we have something like that. Okay. Now, so if you run this now, so you get this. So you can see in do while we have 10, 11 up to 19. Now, but what if the condition is not met? So let's say so long as the number is greater than 20. When it comes in the first instance, it's not going to be greater than 20, because here it ends at 9. So when it come here, I expect the number to be 10. So this code block, like I said, is going to be run, is going to be executed before the check of the condition. So if you run this now, so you saw that in do while we have it run at least one time, even if the condition is false. So this is about while loop and a do while loop. Now let's talk about a for loop. So the for loop is pretty an interesting loop statement. So the for loop, so let's say the number 3, the for now. Alright, so the syntax is pretty simple. You have for, and then you have the first statement. There's a statement 1. There's one statement, let's say statement 1, and then there's another statement too, the second statement, and then there's a third statement, like that. So I'm going to break it down as much as possible. So let's say we have this, and then here we here you then have the action here. You have the action here. Action. Now the first statement, one thing where we need to know is that it's not just about initialization. What we need to know is that the first statement runs once. It runs once before the check of this condition. It runs once before the execution and the check of this condition of what is of statement 2. So that's the first thing that get run. And then the second statement is the condition that we're setting. So long as that condition is met, this thing is going to execute. And then statement 3 runs every time this code block runs. This one is going to run as well. So you can do so much more than just doing high equals to 0, high less than, this things like that. So it's pretty much depends on what you really want to do. But this is at the lower level. This is what it means. The first statement is going to run once, before this thing start running, and then this one is the condition that it gets. We're checking the condition, each time this runs, and this one is going to also run each time this runs. So if you want to use these four statements to run the same kind of example that we have here, so we can have something like this. So let me say we have something like this, right? So if we have the example, this is just syntax. So let's say we have 4, and then I have a first statement. Let's say the first statement is int I equals to, let's say int I equals to 1, and then the second one is I less, I less than let's say 30, and then I plus plus. Just like we're doing here, that we are incrementing the number. So this one here, we're just incrementing each time this thing runs. So here, well, we're not doing much so than just writing to the console, right? So let's have console.writeLine, and then console.writeLine, we're writing the I in the console, right? So let me just for the sake of separation and for us to really see for loop, so nothing pretty serious. Alright, so if we have this and we run, we'll get to see what we got. So we saw that we have the for loop here that runs from 1 to 29. 1 to 29, because 30 is not inclusive. So pretty much this is the first statement that runs, that's at the initial, and then this condition keep checking each time this executes, and this one also executes every time this code block runs. So this is a bit of a loop statement. So by the time we start doing functional programming, we would see a bit more of it. All right.